Today, we are going to talk about how to play modern licks on the saxophone by using overtones. Before we dive into the tutorial, I am recording this video in a practice room in a music store in Mexico. So you are most likely going to hear some music store sounds in the background, guitars or drums or some of that kind of stuff. But the show must go on, so let's get started. Let's talk about how to use overtones in your solos. Now, of course, if we're going to talk about using overtones, you need to already be able to play overtones. So if you haven't mastered your overtones yet, then I'll put a link in the video description below on some videos that I have done on working on overtones. But if you are watching a video on how to solo using overtones, I'm assuming that you already know how to play some overtones. To demonstrate how to use overtones in a solo, I'm going to start off by just playing a simple C minor pentatonic lick, and then I'll show you step by step how you can add overtones to this simple lick. This is what it sounds like. The first step for using overtones in this lick is we are going to take those pickup notes, which are currently C, B flat, C, and change it to C, overtone C, regular C. Now, you can hear when I play those two C's that they sound different. We call that timbre. It has a different timbre, a different sound. And if you listen carefully, you can hear that the overtone C sounds a lot more accented and fatter than the regular C. So that is the first thing we're going to do, is we are going to change that B flat into an overtone C. This is what it sounds like. Take another listen. This time I'm going to slow it down. Do you hear the two different timbres? So it's very simple to start off with those pickup notes and just adding in that overtone C. Now, once you are comfortable with that, we are going to add some overtones at the end as well. Take a listen to the lick, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. As you can hear at the end, I am playing some overtone C's as well. I'm playing regular C, overtone C, regular C, overtone C. So I'm going to play the lick starting with overtones and ending with overtones. Pretty simple, right? I'll bring the camera down so you can see exactly what I'm doing with my fingers. I'm just going from the regular C to the overtone C. As you can hear, when you play an overtone lick slow, it doesn't sound good. So your overtones are going to have to be 8th notes or 16th notes. You can't play overtone licks slow because they just usually don't sound good, especially if you're going back and forth between the original note and the overtone note. Now, from there, we can change this lick up one more time. Instead of playing C's at the end, this time I'm going to play overtone F's at the end. Of course, for an overtone F, I'm going to finger a low B flat and get an F to sound. This is what it sounds like. Again, I'm just adding that overtone at the end. Instead of doing the C, I'm doing an F. This time, I'm going to add a G as my last set of overtones. So I'm going to play a high G, then an overtone G, which of course is fingered like a low C, but you're sounding a high G, and then go back and forth between the regular G and the overtone G. Now that G sounds a little ugly. It is totally fine if it sounds ugly. You can also play it super clean. But if it has some rasp on it, that is okay, because you're just trying to get some different timbres and some different sounds in there. So don't get worried about whether that overtone G or any overtone note is perfectly pretty sounding. We kind of actually don't want it to be pretty sounding. We want it to have a really different timbre to it. This is what that lick sounds like with G's at the end. Pretty cool sounding, right? If you want to dive deeper into this subject in the Sax School, I have an entire section dedicated to overtones, starting you at the very beginning and showing you how to make them a functional part of your improvisation. I also have a course called Funk Improv, which is exactly what it sounds like, but instead of just showing you basic things, I show you improv techniques that will make everything sound more modern, more complex, take you out of just playing blues scale and pentatonic funk solos. So if either of those sound good to you, I'll put a link to the sax school in the video description below. Now, the next step is we're going to do what I call a two-timbre groove. So we already know that timbre means the sound of the note. The two-timbre groove means we're going to play the same note two different ways, the C and the overtone C, and just come up with a groove. Now, if I just go back and forth between a C and an overtone C a bunch of times, it doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good at all. So what you need to do is re-articulate either the regular C or the overtone C a couple times. So that's going to give you a little bit different of a sound. So it doesn't just sound like you're going back and forth. And then, of course, you also want to use some really strong articulations. That's going to help a lot as well. Now, when I say repeat a C or repeat an overtone C, I just mean tongue that note so that you have two of them, not just one. This is what a two-timbre groove sounds like. So you can hear I have those two different sounds of the C. I'm using my articulations and some repeated notes to come up with a cool sounding rhythm or articulations that make the groove sound better. It makes it sound like a real groove instead of just going back and forth between two different sounds. So let's play this lick again, and this time I'm going to put a two-timbre groove at the end of it. Sounds pretty cool, right? Of course, we could do it on an F or a G as well. And I can also play the two-timbre groove on a C and then move it up to another note. This time I'm going to move up to an F. This is what it sounds like slower. Of course, it doesn't sound very good when it's slow, but I wanted to do that so you could see exactly what I'm doing. So I would suggest practicing your two-timbre grooves on different notes. That is a really cool and modern sound that you can add into your solos. If you're enjoying this video, now would be a great time to give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment below. Now, I'm doing all these examples in a funk style, but you can use this same concept in a jazz style. It will sound like this. It's not quite as aggressive, but it still gives you a really modern sounding jazz style. All right, now let's take this to the next level by jumping around into your overtones. For this, I'm going to play B flat, C, B flat, G. Now I'm going to put a G overtone after each one of those notes. Again, it doesn't matter if your G is super clean. I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to do it so that the G sounds cleaner. It doesn't matter if it's super clean or not. You just want that different sound. Personally, I like the rasp on the note because it gives it a more gritty sound. So now that you've got that lick, I'd suggest practicing it, just going back and forth. It's not going to sound super musical, but it's going to get those notes and those overtones under your fingers so that you can turn it into a solo. Then once you've got that down, you can switch up the order of the notes. In other words, you can play G, C, B flat, or B flat, G, C. To start off, you want to use those three notes and that G overtone, but you can switch up the order of the notes. You can repeat notes, and of course, you definitely want to use your articulations to make some notes sound stronger. At the end, I added an F. Sounds super cool, right? So here is an example where I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to play the same idea, but I'm going to do it way slower so you can see what's going on with my fingers, my articulations, and all of that kind of stuff. Once you get the idea down of jumping back and forth between these overtone grooves, then start using some different notes, some different overtones. So your C blues scale is a great starting place because you can use overtones on the C, the F sharp, the G, the B flat, and the C. So there's a lot of overtones that you can use. And that is your step-by-step process on how to play modern solos using overtones on the saxophone. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.